Hey guys, how we going? Saki here again with another video. Today I'm going to share with you some of my tips and tricks on how to pass CNAV. So CNAV navigation was my next exam after doing general knowledge and aerodynamics. This one requires quite a lot of work. I wouldn't say it's necessarily harder or easier, just that there's a lot more work and working out involved. So before we get on with it, I'm going to show you what my result was, and I'm pretty happy that I passed this one because I do not want to sit through that one again. There we go, 76%. Not too shabby, eh? Now, I'm going to start getting into the tips. One of the most important things to this exam is you need to know your 1 in 60s. Get used to doing lots of calculations around those, not just for angles and distance, but also time and speed. So I can't actually go into too much detail about exactly what the questions are because I would be breaching regulations, but I can guide you in the right direction. So get really good and efficient at solving your 1 in 60s. Pilot practice exams, if you pay for their subscription, I promise it's worth it. You're going to get to practice a lot of the questions that I just mentioned, plus the controlled airspace step climbs. Those are pretty important to know how to do. And when you're calculating for the step climbs, keep in mind that if you're within controlled airspace, you need to consider the 500-foot buffer. Whereas if you're calculating for outside of controlled airspace and you need to remain outside controlled airspace, the 500-foot buffer doesn't apply. So those are things you got to keep in mind when you're doing your calculations. Know how to calculate off by heart what formula to use for rate of descent, distance before you can start your descent, ground speed, so on and so forth. Get really good at doing those calculations. Practice the questions on pilot practice exams over and over again until you're confident and until you can do it with speed. So speed's going to be pretty important. I almost ran out of time in this exam and I started to panic and rush towards the end. So that might have cost me a little bit. I didn't really have time to check over all my answers, but I'm glad I passed. Yep, that's about it for the 1 in 60s. Another important one is your end of daylight, beginning of daylight calculations. So for these questions, you need to refer to your AIP. You're allowed to bring it in. And there's a page there which has the local mean time. And the graph there tells you basically when first light is, when last light is, and you'll need to make calculations based around those. You need to know how to convert longitude to UTC. You're actually going to do a lot of time calculations. So know how to add and subtract time really quickly and efficiently. You can use a calculator. There are plenty of good YouTube tutorials on how to add and subtract time. They're really good. As well as how to convert arc to time and time to arc. And keep in mind also, when it comes to last light, there is a 10-minute buffer that you may need to consider as part of your calculations because you need to arrive 10 minutes before last light. That's the recommendation. So that gets factored in. And these time calculations, you know, converting from latitude to UTC and then back to another time zone. For example, if you need to figure out, you know, if you're crossing more than one time zone, you need to convert both latitudes of the departure point and the destination, convert both to UTC, and then you can find the difference in daylight available. So they take a long time, hence it's very important to get efficient at doing those time calculations. And on top of that, CASA still likes to try and trick you. So you can end up doing all of these calculations and get the question wrong because you got tricked or you misread something. So on top of the work you have to do, CASA's still going to try and trick you. So unfortunately, that's the reality. You just have to do the best you can. Be ready for everything CASA's going to throw at you. Get really good at using an E6B flight computer. I personally have this one. It's served me pretty well. You got the wind side as well. These are really good for solving headwind, crosswind, as well as on this side, you can figure out from your fuel burn. For example, if you burn 30 gallons per hour or 30 liters per hour, you can find out exactly how far you can go in nautical miles. And there's going to be various calculations based around the flight computer. So know how to work out endurance, how many minutes you have available as well. Know how to convert between liters and gallons. Know the specific weight of avgas, because you're going to need these as well. And there's a page in the AIP as well. I strongly recommend that you tag that page, as well as the local mean time graphs, which I mentioned before. First light, last light. Fuel endurance, flight fuel. Know the definition of flight fuel, contingency fuel, fixed reserve, because all of these are going to be pretty important to know. Not just for exams, but in your flying career as well. Know how to calculate PNR, the point of no return, safe endurance, ETP, those sorts of things, magnetic deviation. For your 1 in 6s, magnetic deviation could be something you consider. How to find your true airspeed from your calibrated airspeed, how to solve for track and ground speed with the flight computer, heading and ground speed, wind correction angle. Again, I used the aviation theory navigation book. A lot of exercises in there that you can practice. But I also benefited from the university lectures, which teaches all the CPL subjects for me. So besides that, a little bit of general navigation knowledge is helpful as well. Yeah, that's about it. Now I'll get into my KDRs. Okay. Rated coverage of NDBs. Calculate top of descent point. Calculate ETA. ADF tracking indications. VOR errors. Yeah, I forgot to mention those as well. Have a good understanding of relative bearing from an NDB. For example, latitude and longitude time differences. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how I got that one wrong. And like I said before, these calculations take a fair bit of time. So I'm pretty upset with that one actually, because I consider myself pretty good and efficient at solving for latitude and longitude. I know how to convert the times, I just don't know what I missed. So a little bit annoying. And then last one, calculate alteration of heading. So yeah, I could have done a little bit better, but like I said, I'm happy that I passed and I don't have to go through that again. I mean, I will have to go through it again because performance and planning is going to have some similar questions, especially around fuel. But yeah, hopefully I don't have to do end of daylight, beginning of daylight calculations again. Yeah, that's all the advice I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed that one, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.